It's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form, a weekend preview. I am Gino Bacola alongside Scott Shapiro. Scott, it is a great time to be a sports fan because we focus on horse racing on this show, but no, a lot of the folks watching are big NFL and college football fans, and it is a great time. We are immersed in the college football and NFL seasons now as we get ready for week 3 of NFL, a little bit more depending on which college team you are. We have a lot of offers for you at DRF.com. Just click on, go to the website, and up in the right-hand corner, you can see a Bet on Sports tab. If you click on that, it'll take you right to this section, and you can get up to $5,000 in sportsbook offers. Scott, one of the best ways to build your bankroll is when you get free bets to build that bankroll right away, right?
Well, yeah, you can't lose. So, I mean, you can only add. So,
Exactly.
Free is almost always good. Yeah, definitely in gambling.
Football fans here for Scotty and myself, but we're going to be focused on horse racing today here. It's a big day out at Parx Racing, Scott. 2 grade 1s. We're going to be focused on the 3-year-olds. So we'll have the 3-year-old fillies first in the Cotillion, and then we'll have the 3-year-old boys in the Pennsylvania Derby. We're going to look at races 13 and 14. Scott, our colleague Marcus Hirsch does divisional rankings for each of these divisions, and we don't have the number 1 3-year-old filly right now. That's currently Nitrogen. But in this race, he had the number 2, 3, and 4 3-year-old fillies all in this group where you have Scottish Lassie, Lacara, and you also have Good Cheer. They're all grade 1 winners. They're all really proven horses. And it'll be interesting to see how this race gets bet because I think any one of them could take a decent amount of money. Let's start with the speed of Scottish Lassie down on the inside. It's kind of tough to gauge her last race, Scott, because it was a field of 4. It was a race where there was no other speed. She got the lead easy and she crushed. She earns a big speed figure and it looks good on paper, but I don't really know what to take out of that. One of her rivals in that race, Dry Powder, hit the starting gate and wasn't even around to put pressure on her early. So I respect that win, but I don't know if I want to take, 9-5 or 8-5 on a filly like that coming off that victory.
Yeah, the price is the biggest question. When she runs her race, she's run really fast. She's won by 9 lengths and 15 lengths, and those are both grade 1 races. But, the quality of those grade 1s has to be taken into account of as well. She's drawn down on the inside. She's unlikely to have things her way last time. And Joel Rosario is not overly aggressive normally, was with her, took it to immersive. And I just don't see how they'd make a decision to not go this time around. I think she's going to take a little more money than I'm willing to accept.
You and I saw Joel Rosario out in Southern California for many years. He can get horses on the lead. He gets sort of typecast as one who likes to take them back, but he's very good on the front end when he wants to put a horse out there. Lacara right next door, Scott. That's what I think makes this race a little difficult to handicap because you have these 2 horses who feel like their best races are when they're on the lead or when they're able to kind of dictate the race. And Mark Cassey, the trainer of Lacara, he always says with her, she's going to be out front because that's where she wants to go. And coming into her most recent race, the Alabama, she had missed a race. And you could tell the connections felt like she might be a little short in that race. Wouldn't shock me to see her run well in here, but she's going to have a speed rival right to her inside.
Yeah, her best races are when she controls things on the front end. It doesn't mean she has to go super slow, but when she gets in battle, she doesn't perform all that well, as you can see by looking at the past performances. So I'm going to let Lacara beat me, particularly at that 7-2 price, even though I respect her campaign.
Clicquot's in nice form right now, Scott. She's won 3 in a row. She just won the Indiana Oaks a couple months ago. But this is a step up for her, to try to compete with like the top 3 fillies in this race. And she's going to have to take another step forward. Do you think she's in the mix with them?
I do, but this is a filly I'm a fan of, so maybe I'm being over ambitious. Big money on debut, didn't have things her way in terms of trip, and then has done absolutely nothing wrong since then. The win at Keeneland I thought was amazing, and then really has just handled her business and then some. She obviously gets a major class test, but with Ira aboard, I don't think she's going to be on the lead. I think she might benefit, in fact, from a lively early pace and then get the jump on Good Cheer. I think she's a very, very intriguing filly.
Scott, I kind of had this race pegged with 2 different tiers of horses. I had those big 3 that we mentioned, Scottish Lassie, Lacara, and Good Cheer. They're the obvious horses. If you're trying to beat them, I thought there were 3 that kind of looked like horses you could take a stab with. The one you mentioned, Clicquot. And then this one, Indy Bay, would be another one in that group who's lightly raced. She's got some upside. I'm not sure yet what kind of trip we're going to get from her in here, right? Because all of her races have been sprinting. Now she's going to stretch out. So naturally, you'd assume she's going to be a little closer to the lead. But if she can sit like third or fourth in here, that might be a great trip behind the speeds. And I like the fact that she's coming out of a race at Charlestown, Scott, because the complexion of that racetrack at 7 furlongs is actually 2 turns, kind of sets you up well as a stepping stone to go a little bit longer.
Yeah, we were just taking a look at that run, that big win there, and I think that is a very noteworthy. You look at 7 furlongs in your program and your past performances, you're going to think that that's a one-turn race because it is just about everywhere. Not at Charlestown, so I think it was a good setup for this race. The key, though, to me, like you said, is trip. Is she going to be able to relax going this long against this level of competition? If she can, I think it bodes well for her chances, but I'm a little bit leery that she'll be able to.
I had a tougher time making cases for the next 2 horses. Not Too Late was 94-1 in the Charlestown Oaks behind Indy Bay, and we're not even sure if Indy Bay is like the top of the contenders in here.
Right. I mean, huge prices when this filly takes on this level of competition, and she has not proven that she's deserving of taking more money. Her best efforts have been when on the front end, like she was at Monmouth 3 back on June 29th in the Merrifield. She's completely up against it.
Our daydreaming girl seems like she needs to step up a bit on the class level. What I do think is a little interesting about her is she seems like she wants to come from way out of it and off the pace. So it doesn't look like on paper the additional distance or being at the mile and a 16th type distance should be a problem for her. I just don't know how good she quite is. I could maybe see her as like a 3rd, 4th, bottom of the exotics, passing some horses late. Could you build a case for this one, our daydreaming girl?
I think I would make the similar case. If you're someone that thinks this is going to be a fast pace, which I think is a very decent chance or happens, they run this race 100 times, more than 50 it is.
Yeah.
Maybe you could make a case that she's going to benefit and could finish 3rd or 4th, but I think she's outclassed when it comes to winning this race.
Good Cheer is one of the 3 Grade 1 winners in here. She was 7 for 7 to start her career. She wins the Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks. Then she has legitimate trouble in the Acorn off of that. I thought she bounced back nicely in the Alabama last time, Scott, because I wasn't sure if she was one of those fillies that's just really precocious and maybe she ran a lot of her best races early, but I thought this was a pretty good performance. It was still right in the same speed figures that she'd been running, but she was a clear-cut second to the horse who's now the leader in the division, and she didn't get the more beneficial trip. She had to kind of come after her a little bit late. Nitrogen got the jump on her. And I don't think I've ever picked Good Cheer on top. Spoiler alert, I will in this race. I just think it sets up pretty well for her when you look at the other possibilities. I think of horses like Scottish Lassie, Lacara, they will run some good races, but then throw in some clunkers. For the most part, the body of work from Good Cheer is really solid, Scott. I think she's just going to get a nice setup in here.
Yeah, her one poor effort was very forgivable. She was against the racetrack over a sloppy going in the Grade 1 Acorn on June 6th. She's done a little wrong. The question is she continuing to move forward? Or like you said, did she just get the jump on her crop in terms of maturing? I think she's going to get a good setup here. I definitely think she's the horse to beat. Whether she goes off favorite or not, we'll see. But I think I'm going to lean elsewhere in terms of a top selection and someone I would bet on.
One of the other intriguing wildcard horses in here rounds out the field. That's Dry Powder. And Scott, she was in the CCA Oaks, but she hits the gate right out of the right at the start, and she just never got involved in that race. If you put a line through that race in the past performances, all of a sudden her form looks a lot better and she's on the upswing. She's going to need to take another step forward, but I actually like that she's drawn to the outside. She might be able to sit off a little bit. Just not quite sure how good she is. What do you think about Dry Powder in here?
We're going to find out how good she is, but it's been a great year for trainer Chad Summers. He's winning at over a 20% clip, positive ROI if you wager on him. It's going to be a big-time class test for her. I think she can get the distance. We'll see if the outside draw is against her or maybe, like you said, it'll benefit her.
A really strong race. 3 Grade 1 winners in here. You've got the Kentucky Oaks. You have like 3 of the top 5 in the division. And we're going to talk about how we will bet this race in the final segment because we can connect races 13 and 14 in doubles and then some other wagers. So don't go anywhere. When we return, we're going to talk about the Pennsylvania Derby. That's race 14 on Saturday at Parx. next to the Pennsylvania Derby at Parx. This is a big race on Saturday, and it's going to go as race number 14. And Scott, very similar to the Cotillion. We don't have the horse, or maybe horses that are in the top of the division, but you have a lot of the horses that are right below them. Baeza would probably be considered like the third best horse in this division. You have horses like Goal Oriented and Gosker, who are kind of in that next tier of runners. Magnitude, a wild card. We'll talk all about them in a moment, but before we do, we want to let everybody know about DRF Newbie. It is a brand new DRF wagering product that will really help a lot of you out there. If you're someone who likes to play the races, but maybe you're not the most hardcore bettor, or maybe when you open the racing form, there's a lot of numbers that you don't really understand, this is great for you. It has graphs. You can kind of simplify it to make it as easy as possible. It shows you rating numbers, and it'll help you step up to sort of that next level of past performances. Check out DRF Newbie, and you want to check it out on your mobile device, newbie.drf.com. PA Derby time. Scott, let's start things out with the one So Sandy, coming off of a runner-up effort. He was in the Curlin last time out. It's kind of a weird race from him because he was up close early, then he dropped back, and you sort of looked like he was done. But then he came on again. Not really sure how strong the race is because the horse who finished third in there is a quirky horse who then didn't really run well next time out against better. Chancellor McPatrick is a horse who hasn't really stepped forward all that much as a 3-year-old this year, was better and more precocious at 2. Wasn't really sure what to do with So Sandy.
Yeah, it's a tough call because he is a horse that it looks like, they didn't think all that much of at first based on the little amount of money they took in Kentucky for a barn, Cherie DeVoe, that takes a ton of money, but has steadily moved forward since adding blinkers and since getting more ground. I'm a little bit worried about his trip in here, and I don't think he's quite good enough, but I could see a case for him underneath.
Altabelli just looks like a big long shot in here. I think he's overmatched.
Yeah, the only thing he could maybe make a factor in is he is a sprinter that showed speed going shorter. He could be a factor early, but a lot of times these horses just are outclassed and we don't get a call.
If he does show some speed early, it probably hinders a chance of a horse like Magnitude. And man, it's really crazy how the perception on this horse kind of flipped in just like days, because going into the Travers, he was this wise guy. We don't know much about him, horse. How good is he? And then he doesn't really run all that well in the Travers. We're watching his win, his easy victory in the Iowa Derby. And now all of a sudden, we just don't really know how good he is, who he really is, but you'll probably get a much better price in here than you were getting last time if you played him in the Travers.
Yeah, my problem with him is both of his big wins are kind of aided. One, the race we're seeing now, the Iowa Derby, just facing way lesser competition, loose on the lead as the fastest horse. And then 2, 3 back in the Risen Star when he got the huge number before going to the bench. He got a very much track-aided win that day when they aggressively rode the horse to get to the front end and ride the rail, and he did just that and pulled away. I'm against Magnitude here.
Yeah, I just didn't like the way he was running a lot of that race either. Who cares if he gets beat by Sovereignty, but he was done early, and Bracket Buster just took it to him. We moved to David of Athens, who is a lightly raced horse with some upside, Scott. If you're just looking at his last win, that was a good one, but he showed some ability earlier in his career in his first 2 starts with some trouble and even breaking his maiden first time out of the box. And he does come out of a group where he beat 2 next out winners. One of them came back and won a race with a 92 speed figure, a buyer that we use. And so if you're wondering how strong the race he won, seems like it was pretty good.
He's done nothing wrong thus far. He beat a live group at 22-1 on debut at Keeneland, went to the bench, and then had a very much less than ideal voyage off the layoff, and then came back with a dominant win at Ellis. He's going to have to figure out the right way to work out a trip. David of Athens is what I found out his name is, and I think he's got a big shot to be a factor here at a big price.
Happily Delusional is one of my favorite names for a horse, Scott, because it reminds me of most of us horse players. This guy was 4th most recently in the Smarty Jones, but he just feels like he's in a little tough here.
I would have to agree. 1 for 11 in his career, 5 seconds, and those have come all against lesser competition.
Goal Oriented is grade 1 placed. He's the Bob Baffert charge in here. Lightly raced with upside. He was 3rd in the grade 1 Haskell, right behind Gosker. In the last 2 races, he's been right behind Gosker, but he did show a nice step forward and improved in the Haskell. Just wonder how short a price he is, and the Baffert runners generally take a lot of money. It wouldn't shock me to see him win, Scott, but I'm kind of looking at other horses in here on the top part.
If I saw less speed, I think maybe they would ride him more aggressively. It's Irad jumping aboard, but there's a bunch of speed in here. I think at his price, he's an underlay.
We move to Big Truz, who was a horse that was kind of an enigma for me going into the Ellis Park Derby because he didn't really fire all that well in the Indiana Derby. You were wondering if it was a distance concern with him. He's been a better horse going a little bit shorter. Now they stretch back out. Coming in this mile and a 16th race. And I think they take a swing because he was so impressive last time out, Scott. He's one of those trickier horses. Like if he is in that 8-ish to 1 range, that's probably where he should be in a field like this. And he is sort of like an X factor wild card to me.
Yeah, highly regarded. He's bred to get 2 turns, but he's been underwhelming when he's taken on the top level of competition, going 2 turns, which is just once the Indiana Derby.
Baeza is up next, and you look at what he's been doing recently. You can't knock anything. He was behind journalism in the Santa Anita Derby, then behind sovereignty in the Kentucky Derby, in the Belmont, and in the Jim Dandy, and no journalism and no sovereignty in here. So what he's been doing based on speed figures and how close he's been able to be to those horses who kind of dominated a lot of the others in here. I mean, I obviously think he's the measuring stick horse to beat. I do wonder, Scott, though, with this being a different role for him, he's been the horse that you wanted to bet the last few times, kind of the horse that's sneaky. Now he's going to be the favorite. And I wonder if he's the type of horse I should try to beat on the win end with just his lone victory. I still think he's hands down the horse to beat.
Yeah, I get why you're coming in wanting to consider taking a shot against him, but he's going to be at the best trip he's gotten in a while, in my opinion, against lesser competition. I think he's the clear one to beat.
Gosker's just solid right now, Scott. I mean, you can't knock anything he's done. He just puts himself in the race. He keeps getting a little bit better. This is a good performance from him most recently. And I just don't have very many knocks on what we've seen from Gosker I think we're watching the Baeza replay from there when he was facing Sovereignty. He was down on the inside. What do you do with Gosker here?
Gosker is a horse that's on the rise. I think he might go off second choice in here. Not a lot to knock about him. He did kind of work evenly with his stablemate, who I like as well. He's amongst those that have a real big chance if Baez is to lose.
One more pace factor on the outside. Mo Plex is the Grade 3 Ohio Derby winner. Got the lead and faded in the Jim Dandy. What do we do with him here?
Toss him. Tough post. New York bred. He's going to get some easier races in the future, but I think he's up against it from many perspectives.
Okay, we set you up for those races. Now the important part, how are we going to bet them? Don't go anywhere. We've got some wagers when we return. Scott, a lot of times on this show, we will preview the races, but we don't get a whole lot of time to talk about wagering strategy or how we may bet on those races. You'll see our picks. We can take a few minutes in this final segment to talk about how we might structure some wagers on Pennsylvania Derby Day over at Parx. And races 13 and 14, we can connect those through daily doubles, or we can play those races individually. And Scott, I believe you and I both took a shot at some daily doubles. You're going to start here, and you're going to key on Clicquot.
Yeah, not every day you get grade 1 daily doubles to take a swing at, so figured why not do so? And it's a shot that I like because I think Clicquot is going to get somewhat overlooked in the wagering, even if she gets bet down from that 8 to 1. She's got to prove herself from a class perspective, but if we can get through with Clicquot, I'll probably also place a win wager on, assuming the price is right. We have 2 shots in the 14th, which should we talk about those now, or do you want to wait to the?
Yeah, tell us who you have in your doubles for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Baeza is the clear one to beat. I want to have that daily double, and in fact, I'm going to press up. I'm going to play that one for a higher denomination, but I'm also going to want to have it with David of Athen too. If Brendan Walsh can spring this back to back price situation with winners, springing upsets, I want to be involved in that double.
I'll take a look at my double. And if you're going to take some similarities or if you're going to take any kind of angles from the 2 tickets that we have, neither one of us are using the 2 speeds down on the inside, Scottish, Lassie, and Lacara, kind of thinking that they may impact each other's chances in here. I'll use Good Cheer on one ticket and just single Good Cheer, and then use the price horses that I like a little bit in the Pennsylvania Derby. Then on the other ticket, I'll throw in a couple of the price horses I have in the Cotillion. And then if Gosker's right, then I can hit those tickets two different ways if it comes in like Good Cheer and Gosker. So what I did, Scott, in the cotillion, I threw in the price horses that I liked with Good Cheer because I thought Indy Bay and Dry Powder were interesting price horses there. And honestly, if you're someone who wants to add one more, why not throw Scott's 3 Clicquot onto that ticket for just a few extra bucks? And if you like Gosker the same way that I do, you can try to single with Gosker, or you can start it with Good Cheer. And then, Scott, I used that same price horse you did in the Pennsylvania Derby, David of Athens, along with Gosker 4 and 9. So that's how we will try to start our daily doubles. And as we move to the 14th, the race that we have individual race wagers on, Scott, you got an exacta and a try here. Talk to us through your wagers.
Yeah, I think Baeza is the clear horse to beat in here, but not the horse I want to wager on. You spoke about it, maybe going to be a little bit of an underlay. So I don't want to be all in on that. I want my gambling in the race to be built around a horse that's going to be a price, and that can give me a real shot to hit something worthwhile, and that's David of Athens. I've got him keyed for second and third. I think, him winning this race is a lot to ask. The way I foresee it is Baeza running him down in the lane, but there's a number of scenarios that could work out for him. He's just got the upside. I think he'll be some value in here. So we'll try to get David of Athens into the number with the most likely horses, Baeza and Gosker, who I think is the second most likely winner.
If you're looking at Scott's trifecta, there's a very good opportunity, Scott, that if that trifecta came in like 9, 1, 4, I mean, you're looking at a really nice payout and something like that. Or if it comes in with Baeza, Gosker, David of Athens, you're still looking at a solid return on your investment where you'll make some money back. But that's what's nice about the wagers like that, the trifectas and the superfectas. There's a real range of payouts that you could have just based on the way the horses come in order. There's not really set in stone any payout of what it's going to be if you hit.
No, that's exactly right. And that's why I like keying around a horse that kind of gives me that higher ceiling. I think Baeza is probably going to be there, but there's a chance he doesn't fire. We've seen it before. It allows me to have a chance at that 9-1-4, which would be a huge score.
So Scott's going to play an exacta there and a trifecta, race number 14 at Parx on Saturday. For me, Scott, if I get knocked out of my daily double, it'll come down to Gosker. I was telling a funny story yesterday when our colleague Ashley was talking about the last time she cried. And I said, well, I cried just the other day when I was watching some replays of the horses I've been playing recently. And one of the horses that I had a great day the last time, one of the times that he won, back on April the 12th in the Lexington when Gosker won. That was one of those days where I hit the pick 5. I had all the horses in the row there. And it made me, as a gambler, watching that race again, I went back and watched all the replays from that day. And it got me some good feels inside, Scott. So I hope now we're going to get that energy trending back in the right direction. Gosker is going to be the win play for me here. And I saw you have Gosker kind of in the second spot. What would be a price that you'd be okay with taking on Gosker if you were going to make a win wager?
I think 7-2, maybe.
Agreed.
I don't know if I'd want to take below that.
Nothing less than that.
But he's your pick. What do you think?
Completely agree. That's exactly what I had. At 7-2 or above, I'm going to put a win wager on Gosker. What's nice is if you're sitting there $20 to win on a horse that's in that 4 to 1-ish range, it can get you back right around $100. So there's nothing wrong with that. Scott, big weekend out at Parx. Good luck to you in your doubles, in your plays in the Cotillion and the Pennsylvania Derby. Good luck to everyone. Make sure to check out that Bet on Sports section at DRF.com, and we'll see you right back here next week.